Hey there, abiding fam, and welcome back. It's only appropriate that I start off this video by making a cup of tea, because today we are doing our February bullet journal setup in a cafe-inspired theme. I really love this theme. I thought it turned out really well. Lots of pastels and just really lovely illustrations to bring in not only the cafe theme, but I feel like it also has a really romantic, fun ambiance for the month of love that we all know and love as February. So obviously, I'm coming at you with this video a little later than I like. I've been in the trenches of wedding planning and house hunting and all of those fun things, but I am excited to at last be sharing it with you, and hopefully, even if you're already set up for this month, you'll still get inspiration for future months to use in your own bullet journal. As a recap, let's take a look back at what I did for the first month of 2019, January. Can't believe it's gone already. I did a stars and moon theme, and here's a little glance at some of the notes that I took and also weekly spreads. Also, if you might notice throughout the setup that my sleeves are going to change and the surroundings might change a little bit as well, because I did film this over multiple days. So the first spread that I wanted to do was actually more so for January, because it is my January in review. And I thought this would be a really fun thing to start doing every month, to just look back at the month past and also kind of prepare for the month ahead. So in this spread, I'm looking at my fitness, so things like steps taken and miles walked, and then also books read, achievements, and memories made for that month, and then also things that I can improve on and think about as I'm moving forward as well. So it was a really fun spread to create, and I'm excited to have it entirely filled out once I reach the final day of January. It also is an easy enough spread to create that you could do it at the beginning of the month and just fill it in as you go along. For my February cover page, which I always like to do, I decided to make a watercolor, and this watercolor scene actually ended up being an art print over on my Patreon. So this is available over there, and you can get it on the $6 tier, because I actually changed my tiers a little bit, and so I'll be talking about that a little bit later in the video. But just know that I have some really fun, exciting things happening over on Patreon in February, and I'll talk more about that later. But for now, let me just tell you a little bit about this illustration. So I wanted to do a cafe scene of these two women kind of chatting over coffee. My theme for the month I like to think of as Meet Me at the Cafe. And that's something I love to do. I love going to cafes, and so it was a really fitting theme for me to do this month. And to me, it's just a fun way to illustrate love in a different way. To me, love is getting together with friends or a significant other, and the best place to do that, in my humble opinion, is at the cafe. So I was doing this watercolor with my Arteza brush markers, which I highly recommend. I love how, as you can see throughout this illustration, you essentially can just scribble your color down, and then the water will really just bring it to life by moving that pigment around, and in doing so, creating a really beautiful watercolor effect without too much effort. So once you get that initial sketch down, which as you can tell, I'm following an initial sketch that I did in pencil, you can just fill it in as you would color anything. And then the face of the girl that you can actually see, so I was smart and made the one girl's face turned away, because I know that I'm really bad at drawing faces. But the girl's face that you can see obviously was a real struggle for me, so you can see in the beginning stages that it's just really an unpleasant face to look at, especially compared to the rest of the illustration, which I was quite proud of. I was very upset that the face wasn't turning out the way I wanted it to. And so I just kept trying to add color, and it just wasn't working, and trying to redo the facial features. But in the end, I ended up actually putting down another piece of paper over it using sticker paper, and then just redoing the face entirely. and I was very happy with how the final piece turned out. So it all worked out in the end, and that's just a great tool to use when you make a mistake. Sticker paper over that part of the drawing or painting, because obviously you don't want to scrap the entire thing, really works well. So that's what I did for that. And then I wanted to use the space on the left as well, so I just put down a little printable and wrote down a quote that says, "Slow down and smell the coffee." And there you can see the final printable. So I was very happy in the end with how they turned out, though it was a rocky start for those illustrations. Next, I'm moving on to my month at a glance. So this is just going to be your typical calendar setup, but I wanted to make it fun and fitting in with this cafe theme. So I decided to make it look like a cafe building, or at least the front of one with the cute little awning, similar to the illustration that I have in my journaling printable that I showed you on the previous page. So I decided to make the awning where I put the title. So as you can see, I'm writing out F for February, and then I'm gonna just alternate colors. So I'm doing this one in real time so you can see how long it actually took me to do. I think it's a tiny bit sped up, but not very much. And then I'm going to go very fast into the rest of these letters. So as you can see, I'm doing the initial letter, and then I'm adding a little bit of shadowing to make a 3D effect. And the way you do that is you try to just stick to one side where those shadows are going to be. So kind of pick where your light source is and put the shadows on the opposite side of where that light source might be shining from. And so here again, I'm going to do real time, showing you my brush lettering for the day of the week. So this is Monday, of course. I like to start my weeks on Mondays. And then here is a sped up version of the days of the week. And I am using my Furunosuke pen from Tombow in a hard nib. This is one of my all-time favorite pens to use for brush lettering in my bullet journal, so highly recommend. And I always have my favorites linked down below and in my Amazon affiliate shop if ever you're interested. Then of course I just went in, put in those little dates using my Micron pen, another favorite for my bullet journal. And I thought it would be fun to do some illustrations of plants, kind of like they're sitting outside the cafe. And so I just used, once again, my brush pens for that, and then colored it in using my Tombows. Once I finished those illustrations, I went in and drew out the building or the lines around the calendar, and then I wanted to do some dividing lines around the calendar as well. And for some reason, I put these lines where I didn't want them, and so again, I decided to just fix that mistake using sticker paper, so I cut it to size and covered it up. So highly recommend, once again, sticker paper for any mistakes that you might make in your bullet journal. Rather than ripping out an entire page and having to start again, you can just kind of white out using that sticker paper the part that you messed up and try again. So I wanted to do more planters in this area. Once again, just drawing them out and then coloring them in. And this is actually where I'm going to write in my goals for the month. So I just wrote out goals, once again using my Furunosuke pen. And then in each of the little planters, I'm writing my goals for the month. So keeping in mind when you do this that you want them to be large enough that you have room to actually write your goals. So I didn't make them quite big enough, so I had to keep my goals written in a very brief formatting, but still I get the point across, and it gives me a visual way of seeing my goals written out so that I can better abide by them. So after a few finishing lines, that is the finished setup for February. And you might have noticed my little mistake in the right-hand corner. I wrote next week where I meant to write next month. but it doesn't bother me too much. I know what I intend that space to be for, so I'm just gonna let it be as it is and just accept that mistake. It happens, so just give yourself grace in those moments. Next, I'm going to do my habit tracker, and I thought it would be really fun to do little coffee cups, so from an aerial view of coffee cups for my habit tracker. So this turned out being more difficult than I thought because drawing perfect circles with just following a compass is very hard. If you have a stencil of circles, this would probably be a great time to pull those out, but I just had a compass and was trying to follow along. That's okay. I actually think that the slight messiness of these little cups works out well. It kind of adds to the funky, fun vibe of the cafe that I'm working in, so it makes it more whimsical, I suppose. And then I'm just coloring that in with my Tombos again. And so here's real time, and then of course the sped up version again, just so that you guys can get a sense of how long these things actually take versus, of course, the sped up version that you are seeing in most of the video. And then I just put around the rim, so that'll be kind of like the plate that the coffee cup or teacup is sitting on. That's where I'm putting in the numbers, and I'm just going to color in every day that I do that specific habit. And in the little handle of the cup is where I wrote in what that habit is. So I'm just keeping it simple and tracking 3 this month. Those are reading, exercise, and then walking my dog. And so then across the middle, I am writing out habits in a very large brush lettering. And then I just wanted to add a little something extra to the page. And when you're not really sure what to do, little dots is always a good option to just fill up space. And so I just used the same colors that I used for the cups and did a few little dots all over, and I thought it just was a nice finishing touch on that specific spread. Now I'm moving on to the right, where of course you can see that I am doing a workout tracker, and this one I'm keeping very simple. I am just doing a very clear kind of Excel spreadsheet type of layout. And then I'm putting a little strip of washi at the bottom just to tie it all together. And I wrote in for this one that I'm going to track essentially the date that I do the workout, the length of time I spend doing it, what that workout specifically is, and then what my average heart rate is, and then any comments I have about that workout, whether it was really hard or whether I had to stop halfway through because I couldn't breathe, whatever those comments might be. And here is where I'm bringing in my printables that I mentioned earlier in the video. So these printables are available on my Patreon page, and they are actually available on the $6 tier. And when you join Patreon to support my channel, you not only get access to these printables for this month, but every printable I've ever created. So you can look back through many of my bullet journal setups that I've used these printables in to see what those might look like. But I've made a lot of fun ones over the past few months that I think you'll really enjoy. And it's just a really great way to support my channel and all that I do here for free for you guys, and just to help me out in that way, and also get something really fun in return, which of course is the access to all of those printables. But what is exciting about February is I'm changing my tier structure to give you more value for less. So I'm actually narrowing it down to just 2 tiers, and I won't go into all of the details now, but you can go and check out my Patreon. I have it linked down below. But suffice it to say that in addition to all of the journaling printables, you're also getting exclusive videos as well. So I have already over there at least 10, I think actually at least 15 exclusive Patreon only videos that I'd love for you to check out. There's tons of more inspiration and encouragement over there for you if you're somebody who really enjoys my videos and wants to see even more. So starting February 1st, all of the videos already over there are going to be accessible on that lower tier. And then the other great thing is that on the lowest tier of $2, I'm giving early access to all of my YouTube videos. So if you join that tier, you get to see them first. The final thing I will say about February is this is going to be my last month, at least until after my wedding, that I'm going to be doing Happy Mail. and I only have 15 spots available. So if you want to be a part of that final exclusive Happy Mail Club, be sure to join us between February 1st and February 14th over on my Patreon so that you can get some little happiness delivered right to your door. Lots of journaling supplies and fun things I have in store for you in those packages, so be sure to grab your spot. Obviously, now I will go back to this entry. I created a weekly spread, and you can see I did, again, the cafe scene with the windows being where I do a food vlog, and then the awning is where I'm going to do my to-do list. So I was really happy with how that weekly spread turned out. And so that concludes my February setup. I of course have my January review, my cover page, and then I have the month at a glance, as well as a workout tracker and a habit tracker. And then of course I did a weekly setup as well. If you want to see even more bullet journal inspiration, be sure to subscribe to my channel, join our Abiding fam, because I actually will have a weekly spread in this same theme in real time so that you can follow along, coming out later this month. So make sure that you're with us for that by subscribing. So thank you guys so much for watching. The biggest thank you to my patrons for making this possible, and for any new patrons that will be joining us. I'm so grateful for your support and love. Until next time, I hope your month is full of abiding joy, love, and of course, creativity.